Good morning. My name is Enrico Mrass and I'm a development manager for Conversational AI. And today we're talking about SAP's solution, Conversational AI, and how you can build powerful conversational interfaces with the solution. So SAP Conversational AI is SAP's platform to build conversational interfaces and chatbots. Why is SAP investing in this space, and why should you consider conversational use cases and how you can engage through chatbots with your customers or employees? Well, let's start with a short survey. Just think about, what do you think, how many or what percentage of consumers use conversational interfaces just last year? You can think of a number, just keep it in mind, and you can compare how close you are in a second. In fact, it's 67%, and I'm certain that it's going to be much larger this year. So there's no question the world is turning conversational, and I guess many of you have used conversational interfaces in the past. Many of us have digital assistants at home. Alexa, Google Assistant, Siri. We use it almost every day to have easy access to information or even automate certain tasks like switching on the lights. At the same time, we're using communication tools like Facebook Messenger, Apple Messages, WhatsApp to communicate with our friends and colleagues and family every day. And as these tools get more and more a part of our life, we're expecting the same ease of access to information and ease of access to help and collaboration from enterprises. So now is a great time to start looking into conversational use cases in your business. And when doing that, we suggest that you look at your two most important stakeholders, which is, obviously, as I mentioned, your customers and your employees. So today, we're going to have a look at both employee experience and customer experience, and how this can be augmented and enhanced using conversation interfaces. I'm going to show a demo where we actually going to build a bot together on the Conversation AI platform, which is pretty cool. And I'm going to give a quick outlook into what features are to come. So let's start with employee experience. Let's do a short show of hands here. Who of you thinks that enterprise applications are always easy and straightforward to use? No, not really. So there are no shows of hands here in the room. That's right. Business processes are inherently complex, and enterprise applications need these forms in order to enter information. You have these different systems in order to cover your whole business processes end to end. You might start out in the process with your S/4HANA system, but then want to create a lead in your CRM system. You're integrating with your SuccessFactors, Fieldglass, Ariba, Concur every day. And that obviously doesn't make, well, that requires a certain level of training. You have these system boundaries, you have to get used to these different systems. So that obviously doesn't make for the best employee experience. What's the result? Well, for one, your employees can easily get frustrated by this complexity that they have to manage every day. They don't live up to their full potential. So obviously their productivity could be much higher if we could solve this challenge. And it can also lead to an enhancement image of you as the employer. We believe that chatbots are a powerful way to overcome these challenges. And that's why SAP is building chatbots as we speak into almost all of our big solutions. So we're working with the S/4HANA team, we're working with the C/4HANA team, Concur, SuccessFactors, who will build these conversation interfaces into the applications to make it easier for users to interact with these systems using natural language. A chatbot can help the user to navigate to the right page. That's a very simple use case. You don't need to start with automation. It can just be, hey, I got a question, where do I find the right information? It can be information about the products, can be information about a lead when I'm a sales rep on the road, and I quickly want to get information about a certain order. I can be navigated to the right place where I can find this information. At the same time, bots are very good in answering simple questions or FAQs. So think of these policy documents that you might have, or a use case that probably many of us have here is, how much can I expense per day while at TechEd? You might already have an FAQ for that. You could feed it into a chatbot, and it can answer these questions without your employees needing to know where to exactly find this policy document. And obviously, chatbots can execute and automate simple tasks. So as mentioned, SAP is building chatbots in their solutions, And in the same way that you can expect your S4, C4 systems to be customizable to your specific business needs, you can also expect in the future to be able to augment and customize the chatbots that we're building. And then there's another dimension, which is SAP's Copilot, or our digital assistant. And this is actually very, very powerful in what it can do for your employees. So it can be the single point of access to a variety of conversational use cases, so that you really just have this one entry point, either in your Launchpad or on an iOS application, where you can access these skills or use cases that have been built on top of our Conversation AI platform. And I want to show a quick demo. It's a vision video, how this could look like and how our digital assistant can span boundaries of different systems and really bring end-to-end coverage into business processes. For this, we're going to look at the total workforce management. It's not important that you can actually read what's here on the screen. If you can, that's great, but I'm also going to talk over it. The scenario that we're looking into here is Jada. She's a marketing manager, and she wants obviously to make sure that the marketing campaigns are running good and that the revenue forecast is fitting. And we're going to see Tom, who is a marketing coordinator who wants to get onboarded in the company. So let's roll the video. Here we have Jada, who does a quick check for the revenue projections for Canada. Unfortunately, she sees
projection for Canada is for revenue to decline in the next quarter.
Okay. So we see that the projections are off from the actual goal, which reminds her, hey, didn't we have a marketing coordinator position that was to be filled? And we're asking success factors for that position, and we see that it's actually open already for 2 months. So it seems like we're having challenges in filling this position, but we do have an immediate need to act. So we create a contingent worker request in Fieldglass to quickly get someone from a third party. So right here we can create this contingent worker request in Fieldglass, and then after some time, Jada comes back and asks, hey, do I have pending approvals? And we also see different approvals coming from different systems here, but we also have this contingent worker offer here, which we could approve right in the application. So now we are Tom. We had our initial conversation with Jada. I'm 1 day out of joining the company, and I just want to make sure that I have a good start. So I can ask for information about the company right here from the digital assistant again, and I can have another look at the welcome message that was sent through SuccessFactors. Here Jada is asking me to already go ahead and order my laptop, and she's also asking me to book a flight to the project kickoff. So what Tom can do is ask for the MacBooks in the catalog, and this will be pulled from the Ariba buying catalog. You can also see that we get a list of available MacBooks, and I can drill deeper into the details to make an informed buying decision. So augmenting this natural language experience through user interface elements here. Right here I can create the purchase order or the purchase requisition in the S4 system again. And once this is done, I can go ahead and book my flight. Tom is already providing information here. He wants to go from San Francisco to Boston, and he's already giving the dates so that Concur can pull up the right flight information for Tom. Again, we can drill down into the details, make an informed decision, and yeah, the American flight looks good, so we're going to go with that one. And can again, we have a confirmation step here because yeah, it's important that the bot reconfirms, is that what you really want to do before making that transaction, and then we can actually go ahead and book this. And then to finish off the story, we're back at Jada's and checking revenue projections. And
projection for Canada is for revenue to increase in the next quarter.
And we see that Tom actually made a good impact on the revenue projections. So yeah, that's a vision video, how you can span different systems and integrate them into one interface that you can interact with just using a natural voice without going through complicated trainings. But seeing this in the video is great. This is TechEd, so I actually want to go into the system and build a chatbot together with you. So let's do just that right now. So for that, I'm going into the platform, which is available to all of you right now. So you can go to cai.tools.sap and just start using the platform just like we're doing now in this demo. You can sign up just using an email address and can get started experimenting with these use cases and building bots. We also have excellent documentation on the platform, tutorials that guide you through the process step by step. So here I'm already logged on to the platform, and I'm in my organization. I see that I don't have a bot yet. So what I want to do in this demo here is build a chatbot that can create a lead in our C4 HANA system. So I'm a sales rep, and I want to get easy access to creating leads in the system, maybe while on the road, and we're going to build a chatbot for that. So for that, I'm going to select New Bot, and we see that we can already bootstrap the bot with predefined skills that the bot can have. So it would be very sad if the bot couldn't even answer to hi. Many users just start with saying hi to the bot. And if it would then say, yeah, sorry, I don't understand, that's obviously bad. So we have built predefined skills into this that help you quickly get started with this. I'm going to call this bot C4 Leads. I need to provide some information about the data policy, and I'm going to make that a private bot so that only we in our organization can see it. So what it's now doing in the background, it's copying a variety of expressions that we have built into these greetings and small talks that we use to train our natural language processing models. So we're not using rules or rule-based framework to understand the user. In the past, that was often the case where there were regular expressions that checked for a certain word, and then if you have this word, you route to this intent or to this action. If it's another keyword in this expression, then you route to somewhere else. So usually you were building huge decision trees, which get humongous and very hard to manage and maintain over time. So we are using machine learning-based technologies here, which means that we can train the bot by just training it with expressions that users can say or could say, base users would express a certain intent. And here we already see such intents, like ask feeling, ask joke. These are all intents that we have just bootstrapped our bot with. So by just creating this bot, I want to show you that I can already chat with it. So let's say hi. The bot is answering. Let's ask for a joke, actually. I'll give you a second to just read this. And yeah, it's debatable if it's funny or not. We have different jokes in here. And I can also thank the bot and do different kind of things. So while this is not super helpful for your business yet, it is something to get started and something to build upon. And that's what we're actually going to do here. So I mentioned we want to create a lead in our C4 system. So let's make the bot understand how users express that they want to create a lead. So I create a new intent, which we call create lead. I'm going into this intent, and now I train it with expressions in the English language. I could also do it in other languages. So let's provide some samples of how you could say that you want to create a lead. And obviously, when you create a lead, you need certain information, like the organization name. And users might already be providing that information in their expressions, so I also want to cover these cases. So let's include an organization name here. I could also say create lead Samsung for $. I might also want to provide a deal size and an expected closure date for the deal. So let's say 20th of October 2019. And let's do another one. Provide another example here, and then let's say April 1st. So while in an actual bot that you deploy in production, you would provide more examples here because this is increasing the performance. This should be good enough for our demo here, as our bot doesn't have so many intents. There's one thing that I want to show you here, which is really important.
The potential questions we create were also before.
There was a question in the audience, so yes, these are potential ways of saying that you want to create a lead. So what I want to show here is in these expressions, our natural language processing already understands certain things. And I just see here that it also misunderstood a thing which we can correct in a second. But going into this, for example, we see that our models already extracted that Samsung is an organization. It also extracted the deal size as a money amount, and extracted the date time as, or the date that I've given as a date time. So this is very powerful because I didn't even need to tell the platform what these things are. It could automatically extract these, remediating some work for me. And actually I could fix this by just doing this manually, but I'm gonna do it a little differently so I just changed the expression, and then this should also help the algorithm to differentiate this, so fine. So this is very important because in the end, what we want to do, we want to call an API that creates our lead in the system. And for this, we need to extract these information. We need to give the organization name. We need to give the deal size. So we need to make these information easily available. And this entity extraction that we see just here is doing exactly that for us. And we'll see in a second how that comes together. So with this, my bot should be able to understand the user already. So when I say create new lead, for example, then our bot understands that the user wants to create a lead. So this is referring to the intent that we've just created. So the first step in our end-to-end bot building process is done. Now, we come to the next step, which is once the bot understands that a user wants to create a new lead, we need to tell the bot what to do and what information it actually needs for that. So in the end, we want to call an API. So we go into the build tab to do just that, and we create a new skill. Let's also call this create lead, because that's what the skill eventually does. Put it up here. And then we're guided through a 3-step process for building this skill. The first thing that the skill needs to know is when should this skill get active? When do we want to create a lead? Well, that's simple. We just created an intent for that. So when the user says that they want to create a lead, I want to call the action for creating the lead. Fairly simple. The next step is the requirements. And I just mentioned that we need certain information in order to create a lead. So let's tell the platform that. You notice that we have an entity organization. So let's use the organization, and let's provide a variable name that we can then use in the backend to access this information. So organization as lead name. We're also going to do the date time as lead date. And we're doing the money amount as lead amount. So now the bot knows that it needs this information, but we also want to make the bot ask for the information in case it is missing. So let's just reply with a simple text message here. What's the organization? If it's missing, we're going to do the same for the date time. Please tell me the deal closure date or projected date, whatever. And we're going to do the same for the money amount. I'm keeping it short here. So now the bot knows how to ask for this information, and now the only step missing is actually calling an action. And here we have already prepared an API that is actually taking this information from the bot and then creating the lead in the C4 system. So we won't see that part, but lead creator. So this is where our backend lives. That is then creating the lead, which we're calling here. We also see that it can be any open API, so it doesn't have to be an SAP Cloud Platform service that you're providing. It can also run on another hyperscaler, for example. And one thing that I want to do to finish this off is at the end of, after creating the lead, I want to reset the memory of the bot just to make sure that we can test the bot multiple times in a row so that it doesn't remember what the organization was. So with that, quick check, our training is finished. So let's just chat with the bot here and see if it works. So let's start again with create new lead. And now the bot is identifying, yes, we want to create a new lead, so it's asking for the information that we just told it to. So let's say we want to create a new lead for Nike. The bot sees that we still need a closure date, so let's say we're quick and we have a good feeling, so that's tomorrow. Because when using natural language, we wouldn't always give like this well-defined way of giving a date, but we're using our natural language, right? So let's just say tomorrow. And the deal size, let's say, is something, doesn't really matter. So now the bot has all the information it needs, so it can take its action, and that's what it's doing right now. And it's communicating with the C4 system to create the lead, and I should get a response very soon that tells me the number or the, okay, well, it's a live demo. Sometimes this middleware gets times out or something. But the good thing is it should have worked. So even though we didn't get a reply, we can try it in a second again. I do have a new lead created here, which is Nike with the date tomorrow. Actually, to just show you that it actually works, I do that again. I want to do something a little bit different now, which is I already want to provide some of the information. So the bot shouldn't be stupid and ask for information that it already has, right? So let's say new lead for Walmart and then let's say next year, 1st of January, 2020. Or let's do that even like this. So now, the bot is only asking for the deal size because that's the information that I didn't provide. And now, hopefully, fingers crossed, we get a response this time. Okay, so lead 30710 has been created. And when I refresh here, then we see that this lead has indeed been created with Walmart, and then the 1st of January, 2020. So hey, we've built a bot. But obviously, we don't want our sales reps to go into this platform and chat with the bot. So we got to expose it somewhere where they live and something that works for them. So it could be in the Figure Launchpad. It could be on a web page when we're not looking at employee experience, but customer experience, for example. You might want to expose these bots on your web page. And that's the next step that I want to show you here. So let's go back in the system. And you see that we have a Connect tab here. And this Connect tab shows you which integrations we deliver out of the box. Let me just close this real quick. So we have our own web chat that you can integrate in your own web page. And we're going to use this in a second. You can integrate your bot that you've just built into Amazon Alexa, into Facebook Messenger, Skype, Slack, SAP's Copilot. You can even use Twitter or Twilio, which many of our customers use to build SMS gateway integration so that you can also chat with the bot via SMS. To keep it simple, we're just going to use the web chat here. And I'm going to be guided through this process step by step. With the web chat, it's really simple because these are all optional, but I can provide a color. Let's say I'm feeling orange today. And I can skip the other settings and just create this channel. And the platform will provide me a snippet that I can integrate into my web page. So all I need to do is take this, go into the website. So this is a blank website, just to keep it simple. But I'm just putting the script tag here at the end of the body. And now I can actually open this page. That's the exact same file. And we see that our orange button comes up here that lets me speak with the bot. So I can click this, see my awesome chatbot, and I can say new lead in order to actually chat with the bot, as we've seen earlier. To finish this off, I also want to give a quick glimpse into the Monitor tab, which shows you the different expressions that we've given the bot, and we see what intent it has been matched to. And this is the functionality that I can use to continuously monitor my bot and make adjustments along the way, which is actually a very, very important step in your bot building process, because you can't possibly assume all the different ways that users ask for a certain thing. So it's very important to monitor this and make adjustments to the bot so if a bot doesn't understand what a user was saying, then you use this expression to train your intents in order to improve the performance of the bot for this intent. And in that regard, this is so important because, again, this is machine learning based, so you don't have a huge decision tree. It can happen that when you're optimizing for one intent, it can happen that you're introducing expressions which overlap with another intent. So by having good intentions, you might actually degrade the performance of another intent. So it's very important to be able to recognize that. And for this, we have built training analytics, which is another very important or very exciting feature, which I just want to show you in this video, where we have another bot prepared with this. And we have this training analytics tag here, because I can't show you this in the bot that we've just built, just because we've just built out the bot and I don't have this data set available. So let's just look into the demo here, how this looks. So it gives you some documentation how our metrics are calculated. It gives you suggestions to improve the training data set just by analyzing how close the expressions of different intents are, and if they, like in a technical sense, well encapsulated and don't overlap too much. It can help you make your data set closer to reality, because we've seen when you're training a bot with sentences that have 30 words, but users just say sentence with 3 words, create new lead, but you've expected them to give a much longer sentence, then that could lead to not the best performance. So we're also giving you this information here. When we scroll a little further down, we see classification benchmarks. We see accuracy, precision, recall, F1 score. These are things that your data scientists will be very happy to see, because it allows them to do a very deep analysis and actually benchmark based on metrics. We can see these different criteria for the intents that we have. We can filter and sort by these. And we also have a confusion matrix, which shows you when the user asks for the reset intent, or I want a drink intent, how often do they actually get the reset intent, or what do they get instead? Here in this example, you might also get want a drink for reset in certain situations. So this gives you a very good overview of where you need to improve the bot. So see that it's an end-to-end platform that guides you from, oh, by the way, this noise is, I think, coming from the channel here. So yeah, it's an end-to-end platform that allows you to build the bot, connect it to wherever your users are, and then monitor the consumption in order to continuously improve the performance. With that, let's go back to the presentation. So when thinking about bot building platforms, why use SAP? Well, it's native in our portfolio, and we are building these bots that you can easily consume. You can customize them, and you can build your own bots on top of that and integrate them into the same channel that we're using as SAP to provide these chatbots. So we've seen how you can leverage conversation interfaces from each SAP solution. These chatbots are to come in the future. We simplify the experience, having the single interface for employees, SAP's digital assistant, and we've seen that we can build chatbots on our own. That concludes the employee experience chapter, and I want to go into customer experience next. So, thinking of recent interactions that you might have had with customer service, it's clear things go wrong. Let's face it. We can't always account for everything that could come up. We have problems, and we rely on companies to get them solved. And in fact, it has even been proven by surveys that, or shown that if you have a problem and it gets solved by the company in a quick and easy way, that then your retention, your empathy for the brand is actually much higher than if you didn't have the problem in the first place. So I guess many of you can think back of a situation where you had to call a customer support and you might have to wait in line for 20, 30 minutes, which I guess felt like an hour or two, only to get connected with an agent where you explained your problem. They couldn't directly help, so they needed to redirect you, so you had to tell the same story again. So you see how that actually leads to an experience that's not up to the standards of our customers, who increasingly, again, coming back to what I said at the beginning, increasingly expect customized personal support that's easy to access. So again, chatbots can help there because, or actually, let's do a quick survey again. Can you guess the amount that is accounted to annual losses from bad customer experience? Well, Jürgen Müller already gave that one away in his keynote. So I guess by now you're all aware that this experience gap accounts to 1.6 trillion revenue lost annually, according to Accenture. So it's clear that we have to act. Again, chatbots are a great way to do this because they're easily accessible on our webpage. That's where our customers expect us to be, or even inside the messaging application by offering a Facebook Messenger bot, for example, or WhatsApp. And these chatbots are always available. You can provide them in different languages that your users speak, and they can help automate certain tasks for the user, or at least guide them to the right agent, which already makes for a much, much better experience. And I actually want to show you one example of one of our reference customers, SFR, who is using chatbots to do exactly that, augment their customer experience. So I'll let the video roll. We see the chatbot again. It's not so important that you can read everything, but here we are on SFR's webpage or a mock of that. We have a user asking for invoices, fairly common in the telecommunication industry, where you have fees or additional charges for different services. So we can compare different invoices and see, and the chatbot will respond with if the amounts of the difference, if the invoice amount was different, and why. I can also check if I have any extra charges for this month, where here the bot says, no, gladly we don't. And then I remember that I have to go from Europe to the US, so I might need an international data plan, and I can also ask the bot that. And here we see an example how the bot doesn't directly answer that question, because we see, hey, the user is asking for assistance here that potentially requires more consulting than the chatbot could provide. So in the sales scenario, we can guide the user or basically guide the conversation towards an agent who can then pick up the conversation either here in the chatbot, or in this case, they're going to call the user back in order to really understand the needs of the customer and provide the best experience. So we see it as a mock here because the bot is actually available in French on the website, but you can go to SFR's website to actually check that out. I want to stay with this case because I think it's a great example of how such chatbot projects can evolve in a company, because we do have a certain set of features here that the bot now provides, but it didn't start out with this rich feature set that SFR has built into the bot by now. So they thought about what are simple problems that we can solve that have a measurable return on investment that we can show to our company. And let's just get started simple with really simple use cases. So the first thing that they looked at is not automating anything, but just using the bot to ask for certain information to be able to classify if the user does have a support question in a certain field, or if they actually need sales assistance. So the first bot that they built was able to do just that, take in some information, and then route the user to the right agent. So again, coming back to this example from the beginning, this already takes out the pain of having to explain the same problem again and again. And they've been so satisfied with the results of this bot that they thought about, okay, what can we do to now automate some of these tasks? So they looked at the logs, they looked at what are the expectations of users when they chat with the bot, and then they have prioritized the use cases for which of these use cases are most simple to integrate. Like chatbots tend to be much better with simple tasks that only use a certain number of interactions rather than big interactions where you have to provide a huge complex context. So they focused on these with a high volume, again, to be able to show the return on investment. And they've built a couple of use cases into this bot. So that by now, the bot automates 22% of all customer interactions. So these can be handled completely autonomously by the bot without touching a human agent ever. Like these invoice requests, downloading invoices, explaining the different items on the invoice. And from the remaining requests, 90% are routed to the right agent at the first try. And by having this information already available that the customer entered in the chatbot, the actual length of the conversation could be cut in half. So only half of the time that the agent now takes to resolve the request for the user, which obviously helps the user. They're happier because their request could get solved either completely automatically or in a quicker time. And SFR is happy because they can now cover a bigger load of requests and more targeted with the service agents that they. So yeah, again, why SAP? We belong in the SAP portfolio. Your data stays in the SAP ecosystem. You've seen that the platform is easy to use. We have support for any language. If you have a question around that, I can answer that in more detail at the end. And we're made for enterprise. And I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on this in a second. When you see the slides, you can download them from the TechEd portal. We have more cases in here that you can take the time to read. These cases are also available on our ci.tools.sap webpage. I want to stop here for the customer experience because I think you've got an idea and can now think about how you could build similar use cases for your organization. What's new? Again, we do have a huge focus on enterprise. I mentioned training analytics. There are other features that we've built in the past, like versioning. You can build a bot, and with many other platforms, you only have this one version of your bot, which means if you see that the bot has a problem and you're making changes, then the changes that you make are immediately available to your customers without you having the chance to identify if they're actually if you're degrading the performance of other intents. So we're allowing you to build different versions for development, testing, production, for example, so you can experiment with changes and then deploy them when you feel confident with the bot. But what's new? Coming out of the Recast AI acquisition, as some of you might know, we were very open to integrate with all platforms. But we've also seen that integrating with SAP system in a secured context wasn't always as easy as it could be. So this, traditionally, you would have to build these integrations yourself. We've taken this point very seriously, and I'm very happy to say that with our next release due out in the next month, we have a much tighter integration into SAP systems, and that's only the start. So what we will offer with the next release is seamless connections to SAP services via the Business Connector. This will be using the SAP Cloud Platform and the destination services that you're already using to integrate your cloud solutions into your SAP systems. So it's a single point of access. That's where you store the authentication information, and that's also where you store information about single sign-on, for example. So by hooking into that platform and using the cloud platform, we can use the same authentication context that the user already has when operating with an SAP system and use it in the chatbot so that you don't have to worry about the authentication process anymore. And we have our powerful web client for chatbots. So what we had until today is the web chat that I've just shown you. But with this web client for chatbots, we also bring this into this channels. We're offering this as a channels connector, and it will allow you to very easily integrate a chatbot into your Launchpad, as you might know from SAP Copilot already. Want to give a quick glimpse at what's to come farther down the line as well. And we're going to see demos of this in a second. Very excited about the SAP bot generator, which will allow you to, based on OData interfaces that you already have. And by the way, this is also what SAP will be using internally to enable many of the existing transactions that we provide, like creating leave requests, checking for approvals. There are OData services beneath that, and we will be able to easily integrate into these OData services and generate a bot on top of them. We can do this because these OData interfaces, at the bottom layer, they are just regular APIs, but they do provide additional metadata. They tell you in the metadata which information is actually mandatory or optional to call this certain API. And we can use this information to generate a bot on top of that. So if we know that for creating a leave request, we need a start date and an end date, we can use this information from the metadata and just generate a bot on top of it. Once we realize that a user wants to create a leave request, we can ask, what is the start date? What is the end date? And start date and end date are what we get from the metadata. And once we have all the mandatory information, we can actually ask the user for confirmation and then make the call to this OData API. This has already been available in Copilot if you're using that in the past. We're bringing that back to the SAP Conversational AI platform in the near future. I'm also very excited about the FAQ bot generator. Again, we're going to see a demo in a second, which allows you to take an FAQ document, question-answer pairs, so question-answer, 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 that many of our customers already have. And it will allow you to upload this document into the platform and generate a bot on top of that, so that now users can use their natural language to just query for information. How much can I expense at TechEd? And smooth multi-bot interactions. What we've seen in the channel here earlier was integrating one bot that we've built into the channel that we've chosen. But for example, you might have different bots built by different people in different domains, which is a fair use case. And you might want to integrate them into one single interface, which really yields this power that we've seen earlier in the total workforce management demo. And we want to provide you with the same capabilities of building different bots and integrating them into one single interface. So let's have a look how this looks in the system. We're going to start with the easier SAP integration. So what we're going to build is a bot that can query for how many vacation days do I have left, and can also create leave requests. And we're going to use the business connector and the single sign-on for that. So here we are in the SAP Cloud Platform cockpit. And as I mentioned, we use the destination service to create this connection into our SAP backend system. Or it could also be a cloud system. So here we do that for human capital management. We provide the URL. And we're using app-to-app SSO to make sure that the user, or that we're using the exact same authentication context that the user already has in their S4 system. So now we go into Conversational AI, and we go into the skill that we've seen earlier. See, okay, create leave is the trigger here. And now, in addition to the webhook, we also have the option to consume API services and just provide the name of the destination that we've just created. So since the authentication context is completely handled by the Cloud Platform Destination Service, we don't need to enter anything here. We're just saying the response that comes back from this API call should be stored in a variable called HCM leave. And then in the response here, we will be able to directly reference fields that come back from this API. So the last step in order to make this available is using this new SAP Conversational AI web client for the connection here. And we provide the system ID that we want to integrate this with, that should be available in the Fiori Launchpad. Give the connection a name, create it, and we're done. So now, if we go into our S4HANA system that we just integrated, we can open the digital assistant and ask for the leave request. One thing we've seen here, which I was asked the past days quite often, is if you know the platform, then before we had this feature, you had to build a small piece of middleware that can take the information that our platform was providing when making this API call and then translate it into the format that you need to make the actual API call. So here you've seen that you didn't need to provide an extra API for that. We can directly call the API here and make this information available to you and allow you to use it right away in the response that you're given to the user. Can I come back to the question at the end? Thank you. So let's have a look at our bot generator. Let me actually just see if I can turn off the sound here. Maybe not, because the video does have sound, but I actually want to talk over it. So let's give me a second. Let's see if that works. So this is our FAQ bot generator, which was planned for the end of the year. And what we're building here is a bot that can answer questions about our SAP Conversational AI platform. For example, what is an intent? And let's see. Here's how to build it. So, okay. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to walk you through how to build this bot. So we have our new documents tab in here, where you can upload a new document, and we're just using a CSV file that contains these question answer pairs and upload it to the platform. Then we can see the questions and the answers that were included in this document. And I also have the option to add new questions if I see that my knowledge base didn't account for a certain user question. And I can also add what we call alternative questions to existing questions if there are different ways to ask for the same thing. This is all that you need to do in order to have the bot and be able to chat with it, what we're going to do here. And while chatting with the bot, we will also see that we provide out of the box 3 levels of different thresholds that the bot can understand. What I mean with this is when I use what is an intent, then our bot is fairly certain that it has an answer, or like really, really certain, based on the confidence that the bot has from the document uploaded. So here we give the right answer right away, and we can ask the user if he or she was happy with the answer. I can also ask another question, like I need help for training analytics, and here the bot might not have an answer right away, or it might have an answer, but it's not so sure about that, and it can then provide different answers that it has, and just ask the user what is the question that you were going to ask. And then what we've also seen just a second ago is if the bot doesn't know the answer, the bot can also say, hey, sorry, I don't know. Again, in the monitoring tab, we see the different expressions that we've just asked the bot. And this little number at the back there is the confidence that the bot had in the answer. And we saw that for I need help with training analytics, the bot wasn't so sure about the answer, so it used this disambiguation. So what we did here is assign this expression to one of the existing answers. And now if I ask this question again, the bot is more confident and can give the right answer right away. So this is how I improve my bot. That's all I wanted to show for today. I think we've seen how you could use SAP Conversational AI right away. You could just go to ci.tools.sap, experiment with the platform yourself. We've seen that SAP is using the same foundation for building bots in their or in our products. So you can look forward to having these out of the box with the SAP solutions very soon. Yeah, and that is easy to get started. So I can only encourage you to try it out. We do have a roadmap session, so obviously this is the last session, but if you look in the available slides, you will find AIN 831. With the roadmap information, you're also going to have it here in these slides, where we provide an outlook into what's to come, because we do have, despite the features that I've just shown, very nice features in store.